Anyway, this is OMG WAT DAT, and we are at Barber's Point Beach Park, and we're here just to explore and find out, tell you a few stories, and talk to you about the Honouliuli Ahupua'a, which is a very large section. This is the first exploration of this section, and it is known in the Hawaiian ancient lore that this location is part of the land of the wandering souls. Just to give you a heads up so you understand, currently right now I am at the parking lot. This location has a luau that's going on right now, and it's located on that side right now. So the sounds that you hear is primarily that luau. There's also a lot of helicopters and airplanes still flying around that flies into and out of Kalaeloa or Barber's Point airport. So forget the sounds. This is one of those that seems to be a really noisy location. Anyway, so I'm primarily here because I wanted to address Eva. Since Eva, Kapolei, and all that, not too many people talk about the spirits here. But like I said, this whole Ahupua'a, Honouliuli, is said to be in the ancient days the land of the wandering souls. There's a few stories out here that state that certain things happen. I'm here tonight just because I'm bored, and boredom leads to this kind of stuff. Anyway, yeah, so let's go explore. And once again, thanks for coming down and watching this edition of OMG WAT DAT. Let's go and get settled. Hi again, guys. So we are at kalaeloa. Just to give you a heads up, just so that you know, we're at Barber's Point Beach. Originally known as Barber's Point, now it's called Kalaeloa. You can tell what beach this is just by the lighthouse that's located right in front of us. There is a luau happening right now, so I'm not gonna go on that side of the beach. But this is Kalaeloa itself. This is a dock and all that. So the reason why I'm here today, this is actually the very end part. It is said that this location is a lele. It's a Hawaiian jumping off spot like Kaupe'a Point. That's what I was told. Because of the point, that's where a lot of the spirits, if they find their way back here, this is where they would jump off from into the underworld to meet kalaeloa. And yeah, as for like the underneath thing, I really don't know, because a lot of the underworld in the Hawaiian culture sounds so much like the Catholic way. So, but this is, like I said, Barber's Point Beach, or otherwise known as kalaeloa. I'm trying to get onto the sand. I'm actually using my shoes right now. But as we explore this location, there's a few legends and ghost stories in this location, which I'll cover when I get to the chairs. But yeah, the main part about this place is it's said to be a lele, or a jumping off spot like like Kaupe'a Point. That's right. Sorry, I was getting lost. But that's the waves. That's how close to the rocks we are, basically. And this used to be off limits back then to a lot of people, only because this is ex-military location. Yeah. The Barber's Point airfield is just that side, that way. So I understand why they're gonna close this off at 10, primarily because it's fairly unsafe to be here late at night. Anyway, this is just the beach itself. The area is pretty nice in regards to the park. I'm not gonna go all over the place because there's a lot of there's a few homeless people here who live on this park, but this is the beach park, as you can tell. And then there's a bathrooms. I think that's always open. But that light that you see, I'm gonna turn off my my little torch so you know. If you watch carefully, there is a light that goes around and around in this location. That is actually the Barber's Point lighthouse, and because it's a lele, as usual, like I was saying earlier, it's a point on the island that has a lot of has one particular shipwreck that happened. That particular shipwreck was this guy named Barber, and that's what Barber's Point was originally named off of. I'll give you the story of that guy. Basically, what ended up happening is he had come over. Well, he was headed to Kauai from Waikiki to bring forth supplies. Well, he had hit a storm while going to Kauai, and he crashed here. Not crashed, he got shipwrecked at this point. Back then there was no spotlight, but yeah, he was shipwrecked at that point. Okay, anyway, I'll tell you the story when I finish, but there's a big giant field, and then that's just water after that. The rest of the things is actually still government property, as you can tell from that sign that you see up here. I'll show you. But this loading dock area is actually part of the government property. It's not been used for a while, as you can tell. Most of it is actually damaged. This is where we actually started the tour. But yeah, this part on is all government property. It's a no-go to enter unless you want to be pulled out. There's been a lot of helicopters already fly by. I'm pretty sure, just to check if anyone's actually crossing the lines. But yeah, that's the gate. That's a weird sound. I'm assuming it's because of the industrial park, which is just on the opposite side. But at this gate, the left side is actually the civilian side. The right side is actually the government side. So yeah, that's how it is. Now that sound you might hear, I think, is airplanes coming off from Barber's Point or even Hickam, because we're just right there. As you can tell, the shore break is pretty far. I'm assuming that there are people who fish here. So yeah, let's go back and let's get seated at one of the benches, and I'll tell you more about the stuff. Now, as you can see, that's a helicopter right there hovering just outside of the beach itself. Like I said, it's still basically government land that they've actually given. That's actually I think a luau, because I've heard a luau come from that location. Anyway, so I'll be right back, and then we'll talk about the area. So guys, yeah, I've kind of situated myself after walking this small beach. There are a few sounds over here. Like I said, we are here at right now it's 8:15. I do believe so. And there is currently a luau happening in this back corner. So the sounds that you do hear are the luau itself, which is the drums and all that. They're having a luau. The reason why we're here so early is primarily because this particular beach actually closes at 10. So that anyway, give you a history. This originally was owned by the military. This particular park I do not believe was accessible until just recently. Not recently, but like 2015. The name Barber's Point was given to this location primarily because at one point there was, in the plantation days I do believe, that there was this boat. I can't remember the name of the boat, but it was manned by this Captain Barber. And anyway, he was supposed to bring supplies to Kauai, and he took this route around the corner. There was a storm that led him to crash the boat into the reefs here at Barber's Point. Half his people died, drowned basically, and there's only 15 people of him, and 15 people and him survived by swimming to the beach. Hence it was called Barber's Point. I do believe, from what I researched and what was said, this is a lele. A lele, for those of you who do not know what a lele is all about, it's when a person dies. They go to these spots here on the islands. There's one called Kaupe'a Point, where they go there and they supposedly jump into the underworld, or they have the choice to jump in the underworld. If they don't, they find themselves wandering the earth. It is said here on the Honouliuli Ahupua'a that the spirits basically wander the area. This is the location where their aumakua, their god. The way how it is when you die and you've been good, your family god or a spirit comes to you and guides you to the right way of going home. So basically, you either go home or you jump off and you go into heaven, hell, or whatever. It is also a location where those who cannot find their aumakua have a chance to go to the lele and jump off there, and to choose if they want to stay around here or not. Like I said, this is the first stop of the Ahupua'a, the Honouliuli Ahupua'a, and this particular Ahupua'a is said to be the land of the souls, the wandering souls. Here I've heard stories of houses. There's a few houses that are haunted in this location, in this area. There's also the train tracks that is supposedly haunted. Then there's certain parts of the area that is ripe with energies. We'll get back to that a little later on another episode at another location. But primarily the reason why I wanted to come over here is the story of the haunted story. There's a few haunted stories here that the military used to always talk about. Sorry. I'm exceptionally a little bit wary here, primarily because there are homeless, but there are people who go around, and the park is still considered open, and there are people who's using these areas as a shower point because it's free and all that kind of thing. But the story here primarily revolves around a white van with a lady. She supposedly parks at one of these parks. There's this park. There's Kalaeloa Regional Park, which is blocked off right now. Habush, also called Oneula, and then there's Evo, and then there's White Plains. But this whole run is supposed to be haunted by one particular ghost, which is the van. There is a lady who is supposedly sleeps in the van, and she's here. I got this from a report a long time ago. So, excuse me. That supposedly said that there's this white van that moves around in these parks. Now, there's been reports where this cops would go up to the van and see this lady sleeping inside, and they would try to wake her up. Now, I'm trying to go fast. Just because it's kind of weird to see guys actually here. Anyway, the story goes, a military police guy had actually come over here, seen this white van, didn't do anything about it, but watched it and noticed that there's a beautiful Hawaiian lady that's in there. So he let it go after a few days, but maybe like a third day or so, he had to come back and actually try to tell the lady, you have to move on. This is not a beach for you to stay at. I know you're camping or whatever, but yeah, you got to move on to another beach. Well, there was supposedly a report something happened at another beach that he's patrolling, and he had to go over there. That's when he noticed the same vehicle. Why would she be there after maybe 5 minutes of being told to? Well, he looked at the van, and there she was sleeping. He couldn't understand. How is she in two spots at one time? Well, supposedly he had driven back. I don't know if this is a story from Glenn Grant or whatever. This is what I've been told. He driven back just to make sure that she was gone from this beach after telling her to leave from this beach. Her van was still there. That's the weird thing. Being told and then seeing the same white van. So he went up and noticed that there was no one in there. So he chalked it up as a van that looked like whatever. So what ended up happening later, maybe around 10 o'clock, or when they're closing the place, they had noticed that the van had not moved at all. So they went up to it and seen the girl inside. The girl originally said, yes, we'll move on. But this time when he went in, she was laid down. She was just laying down, minding her own business. But this time she looked like she was reading. It is said that when he knocked on her glass, this is what happened. She went like this, and she looked up, but half her face was rotted away. He jumped back. He said, oh crap. He thought it was his imagination, and he knocked on the door. Instead of looking, he looked in again, and she wasn't there. This person, the security guys, supposedly seen this thing happen every so often, but the van would disappear, reappear, disappear, reappear, and he would never look. After that incident, he would never look inside the van. Then he left, but not told anybody about the situation that he'd seen. It is said the next person that took over actually was more abrupt about things. Wasn't too friendly at all. So he knocked on the door, told the girl. The girl looked up and gave him the look like fuck off, like screw you. Right? So, as most security people, they won't really do anything until you have to leave. So come 10 o'clock, he comes back. The van is still there. The van is still there. Sorry. There was a security guard that came by It is not 10 o'clock, so they can't close the gates yet. But she came back. He came back and about to tell her to move on. The van wasn't there. So he assumed, okay, yeah. So as he did his other patrols on the other beaches, he came to this van that looked like it this time. And he looked inside. This time it looks like the lady was actually inside of it. So he knocked on the glass. He could hear somebody moving around. So he told the lady, you gotta move on. You have to move on. It's time to go. This time, somebody from behind him comes up. It's the lady. What are you talking about? It's time to go. No, it's time for you to go. That's when what it looked like another apparition come up from the van, and they both said, it's time for you to go. So I don't know if that was a true story or not, but I'm just repeating what was told to me a long time ago. It was part of a few things that we found out when I used to do this without a camera with a bunch of other guys. That's what one of the other guys used to tell us, that here it's kind of weird that the spirits are everywhere here in Barbers Point area. I want to tell you one of my stories, and this is still part of the Honouliuli Ahupua'a. In Eva, there's if most of you who live in this area know of that new mall. I can't remember what it's called, but it has Safeway in it. Has a hardware store, which I'm not gonna say because I used to service that store, and I don't want to be slapped in the face about it. But prior to that mall being built, let me just give you a background. This is another kind of odd thing that happened in the past. There was somebody missing who went into the Eva Plain area, and they found only his car on the side of the road. They didn't know where he was, and yeah, everybody knew he was mentally distraught, so they thought he was gonna kill himself. But all they seen was his car and all the clothing that he had inside. So it looked like he wanted to be a homeless person. So what ended up happening was they couldn't find him. He was an unknown, unsolved mystery until one day. They started excavation of the mall. It is said the first thing they found when they started, the mall was, the area was basically cleared and all that, and then they started digging into the road, the ground, to put the concrete and asphalt onto the ground. Well, what they actually found as they dug, they thought it was Evie. It wasn't. It was his bones. According to the report, it is said that he walked to the middle of the field, which this mall now stands on, and laid down and chose to die. He just died. There is no idea how he died, other than probably exposure. That's what they're saying. Some say that he took a good dose of drugs and passed away then, in the middle of that field. I have no idea why they didn't check the field where the car was, because what ended up happening is, prior to the mall being erected, the car was still there. So no one bothered to go and tow this car and all this kind of thing. So that's how I know of this story, because I kind of worked on the location prior to the mall being open. Anyway, now that you guys knew that there is something there that had passed away, I'll talk about this store I used to service. I was helping to build this store from ground up. At that time, I was with the company that I was with. I was a temp hire to build shelves and basically to build up the store. There was a friend called Sig. He's already passed on, but one night when only just me and another friend called Phil, me, him, and Sig was the only ones in the store. This is around maybe 8 or 9. We were actually building a lot of stuff, and it was only supposed to be us 3. Sig came walking around and asked, "Did you see that guy walk by?" I mean, what are you talking about? That's what I told him, because he walked by one of the shelves, and Sig was just basically doing the electronics, and he seen him supposedly while he was testing the security cams. And I said, "No, I didn't see him." "Well, he walked right by you." And I'm like, "No, I didn't see anything." This is during the time when I tend to focus out too heavily on a lot of stuff that I do. So later on that night, as we are about to leave, we're working, things are just happening. It's like regular days things, but he's seeing things on the security camera, and he thought there was a third person. He thought that we had brought in a third person to help out, but no. So as we leave the store and all that, he's over there going, "What about the other guy?" I'm like, "What other guy?" "That's just me and Phil." And I'm like, "The security camera says you have a third person. Where is he?" "No, just me and him. I didn't see no third person. I've only felt..." Okay. Normally, you guys all know that I don't react whenever I feel stuff. I only felt something in the back, in the storage area, because it's creepy. You know, it's dark. It's on a second level. There's hardly any lights back then. Not even AC was installed at that time. So we had walked out. We're outside. Sig hasn't turned on the alarm yet. Then all of a sudden, a gush of wind blows through the mall. I mean, seriously, it was like a total typhoon thing, and it rushed through the mall. And I didn't hear that the back door did this bugga 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 bugga. You know, it moves around if there's a heavy wind. I didn't hear it. Okay, I learned that later that it does that when it's heavily wind. Anyway, as I was going, I didn't hear nothing and all that. Well, the heavy wind stops. Then Sig is okay. If you don't have a third person, that's fine. If there's the person in there, I'm gonna lock him in right now. So what he does is, as he's turning the key, we see the lights in the back turn on. He's like, "Oh crap!" You know, "Oh crap! Now I gotta go inside." So he unlocks the door. He turns off the stuff and he goes back there to check. He finds nobody. But what we start noticing is noises on the corner. There's an outside patio where they keep the plants. We started hearing noises there. And yeah, me and Phil kind of looked at each other, and I'm like, okay. Now, Phil doesn't smoke, but I do. But I'm downwind. And Sig smokes. But Sig's inside the store. All of a sudden, behind one of those pillars, smoke comes out. Like somebody's smoking. So, when Sig is coming out, I asked Sig, "Did you smoke by the pillar?" And he's like, "No." "Why? Did you see smoke? Is there fire?" That night, Sig was getting really pissed off at everything. So he just said, this is where I get that swearing thing, because it seems to have worked. He yells into the store and says, "Bleep you all. I've been here by myself, and you guys want to screw with me? Bleep you." Right? This is when there's no wind. no wind at all, and the receiving gate shakes like. You can hear this from all the way in front of the store. It's a fairly big store, so in order for you to really hear it, you really have to shake it hard. So Sig goes like this. Oops, I think I got somebody mad. we both looked at each other, and Phil is like, let's just go. Stop it already. Let's just go. So he locks the door. And we're all look like we're outside smoking, talking story as usual, like you know how everybody just talks story after work. This is when Sig feels this, like somebody pushed him from the back. I see him do this. I'm like, oh, what the hell? And he's like, what the hell? I'm over there, dude, I think it's the guy. I'm like, he's like, what guy are you talking about? You don't know what happened a few years? Now this happened in 2005 about the guy missing and all that kind of thing, right? So he goes, yeah, I don't believe in ghosts. Just when he said that, he normally carries like a cap. The cap gets blown off. There's barely enough wind to do that, and he just says, okay, I think it's time to end this. So as we're getting into the cars, Sig drives off and all that. Well, the next day, as we come in to do that store again to finish up to start, to do the other stuff we have to do, that's when the Petco people show up. So of course, we're all working and all that. Nothing's happening to us on our side. But as we all come out, they come out almost the same time as we do, at around 7, 8. We finish work and all that kind of stuff. They're coming out and they're freaked out. And they're about to talk to us. They're coming to us like, oh guys, you guys work next door and all that kind of thing. One of them started talking about, dude, did you get shot? Do you know if something's wrong with this location? And I just say, yeah, there's a ghost. And then they're all looking at me like, I was just joking around. But they're all like, bruh, as we're coming out, that storage area in the back, that one that is right across like the adjacent wall from that store to Petco, they thought they heard knocking coming from that side. Then they said as they were coming out, the door would close like it slammed shut, like get out of here and all that kind of thing. So they were kind of freaked out and they came up to us and said, did we experience anything like that? I said, me being wise, but as usual, going like, yeah, it's a ghost. You guys don't know that this is haunted. Now, this is all of me just joking around. Now, that mall opened. Then we start hearing stories from people left and right about this apparition or this guy that seems to walk the stores, especially that third building by the gas station. He hangs out and plays around in that area. He scares people. I overheard a lady talking at that golden coin. They were talking Ilocano. I speak and understand Ilocano, so I am assuming they assumed that I didn't. But they were saying that they thought they just seen a mamau, Filipino for ghost, go from the kitchen to their pantry. And the girls are like scared. Of course the cooks are like, you guys stupid. But later on at Teddy's Bigger Burger, I heard rumors that it was happening over there too. So I'm assuming this guy is a restless soul. Now we come back to this. Okay, I just came across. There's a guy that just walked by. I didn't even notice. But anyway, going back to what I was talking about, the restless soul thing. It matches exactly what I read and researched via the Honouliuli Ahupua'a. Ahupua'a. Is it Ahupua'a? Anyway, the Honouliuli area, the area where it's like that's given to the area to the Ulis to take care of. This is like the largest one on this island, and yeah, it is said the guy's probably walking around restless now because he came here and he died, not at this beach but at that mall. I'm doubtful that the guides would actually let me film over there because there's a lot of stores that do not like this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's one story. It's not as scary as I thought, but it is what it is. Anyway, like I said, we are here at kalaeloa to see what we see. Right now there's a really dank smell, like sewage. So yeah, I'm assuming this is like a no. Once again, that noise you hear in the background is actually the luau going on. It's a nice place. I would not recommend coming over here to surf. It is out of the way. Alright guys, sorry about that. Something was happening to my camera in that location. It felt like there was something that was screwing with my camera, so after that smell, things got really bad with the camera, so I kind of walked away from it. But I also noticed that it stopped recording at one point. But yeah, that's the story of what I experienced in Eva. There's a few more other stories, but like I said, I'm going to be exploring Honouliuli's Ahupua'a. I think that's what it's called, which is basically stories from Makaha, Nanakuli to Kapolei and to here, which is to where? I keep forgetting Poke's not here. To kalaeloa, otherwise known as Barber's Point, all the to Eva. So on behalf of just me this time, thanks for coming down to OMG WAT DAT. Peace, and we will hopefully you will see me, I will see you on the next episode. Thanks and see ya.